It's constant warfare.
May the best driver win.
Wolff speaks out on new problems between Hamilton and Russell. Mercedes has struggled a lot in the 2022 season as the porpoising phenomenon has hit them harder than other teams. For example, we've seen Ferrari performing with a decent tempo with it, and Mercedes has struggled to keep up with the top two teams, often finding themselves in an unusual battle with Alpine and Haas at the beginning of the season. One of the reasons why is that Mercedes didn't quite understand where the porpoising issue comes from, which is the main reason why the team is still winless in the first half of the season. Russell took the reins in the majority of the races, finishing constantly in the top 5 and keeping the team high, while Hamilton has struggled to be one with the car. However, the 7-time world champion has picked up the pace and has closed the gap to his teammate, which is why there have been reportedly some problems revolving around the two Mercedes drivers. Finally, Wolff spoke about it and decided to say how the situation really is in Mercedes. Want to find out more? Stick around until the end of this video. When Russell joined the team, nobody believed he could challenge Hamilton as much as he did. Not only was he better in the majority of the first half of the season, but Russell also managed to finish in the top 5 in every race so far, which is an accomplishment that hasn't been done by any driver. The series of top 5 finishes have been broken in Silverstone, but Russell finished P4 and P3 in the next 2 events, continuing his consistency. Nico Rosberg, the 2016 champion from Mercedes and the only teammate that Hamilton had that was competitive enough to push him to the limits and take a championship away from him, has spoken about Russell and what he does in the season, praising him and saying, "Let's focus on George. What an awesome job he has done. It's really phenomenal with that car, with how difficult that car has been to drive. To be so consistent, driving so well, not making any mistakes, always getting the maximum out of it. Brilliant, really brilliant. Lewis is driving at his best. He has just had an unbelievably unlucky season with all the different things going against him. That driver pairing is so strong. Incredible, but make no mistake, Lewis hates passionately to come second to a teammate, so he will be ultra motivated and pushing hard internally," said Rosberg. Ever since he said this at the Canadian GP, Hamilton has managed to surpass George in total podium finishes and has been able to finish season-high second place twice in a row in France and Hungary. Thanks to him and Russell following him, Mercedes are now just 30 points behind Ferrari in the Constructors' Championship, which is a huge achievement. Nevertheless, there has been some tension in the team according to reports, as Lewis Hamilton is far away from happy when it comes to car performance. Considering the season that he had in Mercedes so far, not including the last couple of races, Hamilton should be fuming. If you compare his last seasons, where he was able to dominate the grid without a major challenge, and now when P2 is the highest Mercedes can go, Hamilton does have every right to be mad. Another thing that he clearly isn't pleased with is the fact that his car was used as an experiment, or as he called it, guinea pig when it comes to adjustments. This was the main reason why Hamilton saw a massive drop in his performance, and after the team has found a solution to the porpoising issue, he was right back at the top places. Hamilton's biggest motivation this year was to return to the championship fight after he felt that he was robbed last year by how things ended. Although Mercedes is far away from that, he could still have a decent finish in the Drivers' Championship, but that would include fierce battles with George Russell. We've seen how the pair battled in Miami, as Russell refused to give up his place without a proper fight and was fighting hard for the P5 place. Not just that, Russell was able to obtain the place from Hamilton and endure the attacks, which hasn't been done to the 7-time world champion since 2016. According to Toto Wolff, who had to chime in and say some stuff about this matter, the only opponent that Russell and Hamilton have is the car, not other drivers. I think the biggest opponent for George and Lewis was the car, not the teammate or other drivers, and this has certainly been beneficial in some respects. They use different solutions and setups, even a lot on some occasions, with the aim of exchanging impressions and information useful to get out of the situation we experienced, said Wolff, who continued to speak about potential rivalry between the two of them, when the objective will be race wins, not podium finishes. When the objectives become races and championships, I will be able to tell you if the respect I see today between the two will remain a predominant factor. When playing for the highest stakes, I think it's natural to have a bit of tension, but if people basically respect and value each other, then it will never go beyond what is allowed, spoke Wolff. The team has really struggled to get a grip with the 2022 car on Hamilton, and as Wolff said, although it wasn't an easy thing to understand, Hamilton has kept his spirits high. At the beginning, like for all of us, it was not easy to accept reality. It is certainly not a pleasant experience, but after the first few races he got his very special spirit back. He was totally focused on getting this car to the top, and even when we went through very difficult days, he was always the most positive person in the team, said Toto, who emphasized Hamilton's positivity and his attitude of never giving up. Although, to be fair, that's not what he saw in Spain when he was willing to give up and retire, when the engineers told him that they believe he could finish P8 or higher. In the end, he finished P5, with a chance to finish P4, but had to give the place back to Sainz due to a potential retirement issue. Furthermore, Wolff was accused of contacting other drivers on the grid to replace Hamilton when the Briton wasn't performing as well as everybody would expect. There have been rumours that Perez could potentially go to Mercedes prior to him resigning after the Monaco GP win, and Toto Wolff addressed these rumours, calling them nonsense. "I've never called Sergio. He's a good guy and I respect him, but I've never talked to him and haven't been in contact with any other rider. Lewis and I, even if the season would have gone wrong, we would have at least, under the principle of hope, stayed together next year. And for a couple of months, we're talking if this is going to go 5 or 10 years. So none of that is true. I haven't been in touch actively or reactively with anyone about a drive with us going forward," said Wolff. He knew that there would someday come a slump in their performance, and he hoped that this slump would be a small one, not prolonged into multiple seasons. That is why he studied some football teams like Manchester United as to why they weren't able to repeat great title runs. "I studied why great teams were not able to repeat great title runs, referencing United's record under Ferguson. No sports team in any sport has ever won 8 consecutive World Championship titles, and there are many reasons for that. And what is at the core is the human. The human gets complacent. You are not energized in the same way you were before. You are maybe not as ambitious," said Wolff. Regardless, it seems like his drivers will be energized a lot in the second half of the season. If their accusations turn out to be true, and Ferrari and Red Bull have truly found a way to circumvent the rules regarding the flexibility of their floors, then we could see a much more competitive Mercedes in the remainder of the 9 races on the calendar. Then the team could very well focus on higher than P2 in the Constructors' Championship, although that seems like a fairy tale now, with them following Red Bull for 107 points. It seems like we're in it for a good season, and it will be very interesting to see how the battle between Hamilton and Russell will unwind down in the second half of the season. What do you think will happen in the Mercedes team? Do you think they'll be able to work it out together and prevail over Ferrari? Or do you think that we'll see fierce battles like in 2016 between Hamilton and Rosberg? Let us know in the comments below.